Hello. Thank you. My name's Greg Dewey. I came here with my mother, Rachel Dewey right here. And I was born and raised in Yellow Springs, but I know that there's a story about how we got here, and it was Dal who invited my father to Yellow Springs. He said to my dad, I think this is a great place to raise a family, and I think I can get you a job as dean of students at Antioch, or something like that. I'm not sure what Dad's real job was. My mom could straighten that out, but I was very fortunate to get to be one of Dal's kids. We had two families that lived about half a block apart, and I'm talking half a block in Yellow Springs, which is 20 feet, you know. But, so we had interchangeable families that we never knew who was in which house, but we weren't worried. You know, if Mom couldn't find one of her kids, she knew where they were. They were over at the Dallases, or vice versa. And so I grew up in this magical world that Dal, you know, Dal was half of my parents, and also for all of us in the Dewey family. And well, I called my sisters today and asked them if they would like me to say anything about Dal. And I called Kathy, who's my, I call her my younger sister, but she's older than me. And she said, I remember him taking us to the theater and letting us having fun with the costumes. Dal would let us go into the costume area of the theater, and we could put on costumes and come out as different people, you know, and with Dal's help. And you know, I remember there was for instance, a box big enough for me to get into of hats. This was just a box of hats, and I would get into it and hide and get all the hats over me. And you know, it was amazing as a child. One time, Tony and myself and my brother Nicholas, we got out. We found the swords and the armor that they wore in some play, you know. I mean, and so we came out dressed in them. And Dal went, oh my God, that he couldn't believe us with these huge helmets. We were little people, you know what I mean? But we had these little, and these giant things and these swords, and so he put us in a play as guards. And was it the 13th theater? Or what, 13th story? What? 13 clocks. Yes, and so it was, you know, he would say, bring out the guards, or somebody did. And us three little tiny people with these helmets bouncing around would come out, and you know, this is what would happen. Everybody would laugh. And we were very, very serious, you know, about it, because we got to get the guy and take him out. Take this man away. And we took him away, you know, and it was, we were so proud to go out there in that shining armor, you know, and we didn't get it, you know, what it looked like. We thought, but it was fabulous, of course, you know, and it was only Dal that would think of that and do that, and then actually do it. And us that got to be in a play, you know, I mean, and this happened on, I think my brother was, or I know my brother was King Arthur. Was that correct, Mom?
Elizabeth.
Queen Elizabeth. He was Queen Elizabeth. Excuse me, I had that backwards there, you know. My brother was Queen Elizabeth. He didn't have to dress the part because he was a child, a baby. And Mom provided the most recent baby to Dal to carry around on the stage. And so Nick was in a play before he even knew he was in a play. And we were in plays off and on, and it's, you know, in my world that was a normal thing. it took a long time for me to find out that that wasn't a normal thing, you know. What, you were in plays? Well, yeah, man, weren't you? You know, so anyway, my sister, that was the first thing she said, and fun with the costumes, and she remembers the magic couch, which all of us do. Dal would, see, Dal would take us, all of us kids, down to the theater and let us loose. And we'd have a ball. We'd just do all this stuff and play hide and seek in there. You know, they had an area where there were props, like big, you know, you could hide inside a thing, you know, parts for a building were back there. You know, there was everything. You know, we'd spend the whole day there, and Dal would, they had a forklift truck, and Dal would put a couch there, and he'd put us on it, and he was going to take us for a magic ride. And he would put us on the couch, and I'm sure that, you know, and then he'd lift it up, and he'd drive around the theater, and tell us stories and stuff, you know, and take us to, okay, you know. It was like fantastic, you know, I mean, heck, the magic couch, and what Kathy said about Dal was that he was a sweet, gentle man, very approachable and easy to talk to. I loved him very much. That's what Kathy said. I called my sister Susan, who's the older sister, and she said, I always remember Dal reading the Christmas Carol at Christmas time. And I always wondered if Dal signed our Christmas presents as Santa, and if our dad signed their Christmas presents as Santa, because it didn't look like anybody's handwriting we knew. It looked like it must have come from Santa. And I guess she still wonders that. Willa just, well, Willa knows, but may not tell us. That's what Kathy said. I couldn't find my brother to talk to. But one of the things that I'm going to talk about for me with Dal, it is true that he was a very gentle, kind man, but Dal would take us up to the gymnasium sometimes, and I'm obviously a little person, but then I was even littler, and Dal was a big guy. Dal was a big person. He was at least as big as Tony. And so, like, he had these feet that were like a platform, and he'd put me on his feet and fly me around in the sky, or, I was, you know, his hands, he had these gigantic hands, and his hands were, I'm going to say that about me, personally, I was born with feet that are deformed, and Dal is one of the only people that ever touched them. And he touched them with such, his hands were so caring and loving. Dal was always interested in the progress of my feet as they had operations and you know, they changed shape and stuff. But the only other people that ever touched my hands were the surgeons. And so I always, I have a memory of his hands knowingly adore my feet. And so few people, I adore my feet, but, you know, because after all, I'm still walking, and they have taken me through life, and like Dal did. Dal took us through life, and Dal was an incredible person. I feel so grateful and honored that I was someone that he knew well and who he touched. Thank you.
I'm Paloma Dallas. I'm Tony's daughter. I'm the oldest grandchild. And, you know, I just wanted to say how important it is, how amazing it is to hear these stories from all of you. You know, as a grandchild, it's sort of interesting. You enter somebody's life at a certain juncture, and so you know one piece. And my grandfather, so many of you have said, had this enormous presence. I mean, it was bigger than personality. You know, it was sort of godlike. As a kid, when I would think about God, you know, I knew him. It was my grandfather. And yet he had this amazing ability to just be present. And, you know, as a kid, I was telling my daughter, I must have been her age, I was about 5, and he would let me, we had this cushion on the couch, and it was, you know how the cushion sort of split in the middle? And so he would let me put the split on his head, and it sort of sat like a graduation cap. And he would sit in an office chair, and I would push him around the house, and he was my baby. My daughter wants to do like half of that, and I have absolutely no patience. He's like, come on, come on, come on. But he would do this for hours. And Laura sang about his bread making, and that was sort of another piece that many of you have probably tried his bread over the years. But Patty gave me the recipe that he used to use, and so for the last few months, I've been trying my hand at figuring out how to make his bread. And you know, I've made bread before, but this one actually bread rises twice. You know, so it's a 3-hour chunk out of your day where you've got to be around. And this one rises 3 times. So it's a big commitment. But it was an amazing process to sort of practice and do what he did. But I just wanted to say, outside when you go out, there are 2 bowls of bread. And they've all been cut and sliced in half. Grandma and Grandpa always served bread sliced in half. I don't know, but it stuck. And they served it with butter. So there's bread and butter out there, and I hope you'll all enjoy it. And the recipe is inside the program. It doesn't give you the blow-by-blow. I'm sure you could look up, Google Tassajara, and you can find it. But I hope you'll try the bread.